Hi, it's Etharal here for EGN, and today we are back with our Mount and Blade Warhammer mod Let's Play. So obviously here we are playing as Michael. You can see he is obviously level 20, so he's quite far along, and just getting to see all the stats and everything like that there. You can see mainly have focused on strength, although I have put a little bit into some of the other ones just to improve him there as much as possibly able to. Obviously he's just been working as a Lord of Dorog, trying to sort of help resecure the actual empire itself, and that obviously we've kind of given up on actually trying to do any sort of actual invasions, things like that at the minute. Obviously the ones we have done in the past, they haven't really gone too far in the way of the empire, and obviously it has caused us to actually become quite unstable. So here, just sort of going around, we've obviously raised up a larger force here. You can see we've got quite a good number of people, and though we are still getting some renown for this actual fight, even though we do outnumber them 2 to 1. One thing I will mention, I don't know if you probably have noticed in some other Let's Plays, is that I have actually increased the battle size for this, so I've actually doubled it up to 300. I'll probably look at increasing it a little bit higher. I just obviously didn't want it to cause too many problems with my actual game and then cause it to actually start crashing and things like that there, so just going to be increasing it incrementally. Obviously as I do get larger forces and everything, obviously I do want to be able to actually field them all on the battle. It is something quite impressive when you manage to see hundreds of guys on the field at any one time. So here, obviously Michael is just, following his usual way of doing things, of running around, well, riding around I suppose I should say, and using his pistol to be able to take the odd guy out and everything, and then letting our actual guys themselves mop up what is left of them. And so, just waiting for, there we go, there are the foot guys, so we're going to obviously pull out a sword and, pick away at these guys that are in the back and everything, and, obviously with the sort of thickness of our armour and everything, we are in a pretty good place really to be able to, get into the fray, obviously if we did need to, but for the most part we are going to try and just focus, as always, on picking off the odd 1 or 2 guys. It's particularly fun doing things like that, obviously, where I just wander up to somebody, stop while they're obviously reloading their crossbow, and then basically point a pistol at their face and fire. Definitely is a reassuring thing to get to do. And so here we are just obviously, clipping at these guys. They are obviously taking out a few of us, as obviously we do have a lot of recruits, and so they are about on par with these sort of bandits and everything, but we are still managing to take down a few, and hopefully we should actually be able to build up quite a good little bit of experience for our guys with this one, and actually be able to hopefully improve some after, be able to get back up to the point where we have obviously got decent size force that we can recruit at any one time. Obviously we do still not have any other actual named characters. That is something that I am looking out for. I'm wanting to try and focus on obviously keeping this one, Michael here is very much just a fan of sort of focusing on the, empire itself, and haven't managed to find any guys who are specifically focused on the empire. Have obviously haven't seen a Bretonian, was probably about the closest guy, so obviously maybe a case that need to just recruit him, so at least I do have somebody who is actually a named character who levels up and obviously gets skills along with me. Obviously if anybody does play this, they do know of any of the human actual guys, please do be sure to let me know. I'll keep, just so I know to keep an eye out on them, just mention them in the comments below, and I'm sure I will find them at some point, because obviously they do rotate around, although for the most part I am tending to stay focused on the actual empire itself. And so there we go, we have managed to kill these guys. We did lose quite a few guys, with 21 guys and quite a few injured as well, but we will obviously deal with that at a later date. And so there you go, you can see here how our forces are going. So we're just going to sort of look at sort of balancing all of these out and everything, as much as obviously we are able. Want to keep it roughly 50-50 between ranged and melee guys for this playthrough. And so we're just going to get all these, sort of start putting them up. We are also, for the foresters, we are going to focus on handguns, just like the fact that the Empire does actually use sort of actual firearms and that, so we're going to start focusing on those. And also obviously the bright colours, they do start to link into the spearmen and everything, give it quite nice sort of colour coded force in this. Will mention obviously that I was obviously informed obviously that they have released new updates, so I am having a bit of a play around on that one, seeing some of the differences, so can be sure to actually see those coming at some point soon. And as you can see there, we only have 13 guys to go against these 50 who have sort of jumped out of the forest and attacked us, so unfortunately we do have to sacrifice some of our troops to basically be able to just get away from those night goblins, as I don't like very much our chances of trying to fight those. So we do manage to get away. I'm going to go over to Middenheim just to visit obviously the woman that we are attempting to woo, and so that hopefully, you know, obviously we can start to get some increase our favour and right to rule with the lords of the empire by actually marrying into the nobility directly. And obviously do that. We don't unfortunately know any poems or anything like that to be able to read to her at the minute, so it is going to just have to be a case that we will actually just have to, you know, try and get to the point where she likes us enough just through going and visiting, which is probably going to take a little bit longer, but that's something that we'll deal with. And so here you can see we have joined up with a couple of the other Empire guys to take down just some goblins that we've managed to run into. It's very likely we're going to get too many kills ourselves from these, as we do massively outnumber them, but we are of course still going to jump in, you know, help out where we can. These are only a very basic small unit of goblins and that, so there's not really all that much risk for ourselves, I don't think, so we can afford to be a little bit more direct than maybe perhaps we would of course normally be. So we'll just, you know, wade in here, you know, hopefully take out obviously a goblin or two ourselves just to get the experience. I mean, obviously at level 20 it's going to take us quite a while to actually be able to level up, so any kills that we can get would of course be very, very useful for us. And so here we're going to just move around. We're trying to, you know, increase our forces. We can have up to our 89, 90 guys that we can actually lead, well obviously including ourselves, but you know, we'll obviously have to do quite a bit more recruitment to do that. And so skipping ahead, we've chased all these sort of night goblins, everything quite far, and we do manage to run into some others. As you can see there, we outnumber them over 10 to 1, so it's a very, very unfair fight for them. Obviously there you can see there the battle advantage is 29, so I think it's safe to say that these are guys who are not going to last too long, but obviously we want to go in there, you know, obviously helping fight alongside the actual, you know, Empire lords and everything. It is a good way to sort of improve your opinion with them and everything. I'm not a massive fan of doing too many of the tasks with them in this game. I'm trying to just focus on leading my own guys and things, but obviously, you know, I think may look at doing some tasks at some point if we can, obviously, just to be able to improve sort of their opinion of us quite a bit sort of further. And so we're being definitely very, very careful with the night goblins, even though they are quite squishy. I have obviously fought them in the past and they do seem to do quite a good bit of damage, so you know, I'm definitely not wanting to get bogged down on these guys, even though we do outnumber them as much as we do. It's still, you know, it's sort of better safe than sorry more than anything, obviously, really. So we'll just sort of keep sort of jumping around. You can see we are sort of, you know, we are sort of doing quite a good bit of damage to them and everything. They haven't really killed any of our guys or any of our allies, so you know, we are in quite a nice sort of safe position. And so there we go. I'm trying to sort of hit some guys there. Problem I seem to be having is, because they are obviously small and everything, I seem to be struggling to actually get, you know, to a place where I can actually hit them and that, or be able to take them down as I'm riding past. Which is not ideal, but you know, we'll just keep picking away at them and everything. And there we go. Managed to take the last one of the night goblins down there. And so as you can see, we lost a total of 0 guys. Only had 1 ally wounded. So I think it's safe to say that that fight went very well. And so going into the town of Nuln, we decide to stop off for the evening when Michael is strangely attacked by some actual bandits who's probably been hired to try and kill us by somebody who doesn't like us or something like that, though. Although that is of course to their own detriment, as with our equipment and that, we very easily obviously just shoot the first 2 and then basically cut the head off of the third one. And so they are probably going to regret ever having the idea to come and try and do that. So skip ahead again. We've just been wandering around here, and you can see we have obviously moved our guys back up. We've got now 88 guys, obviously including our itself and everything. You know, we have got a large force here, but you know, night goblins being night goblins, they just like to attack anything and everything that they can. It's sort of one of these games way of doing sort of larger NPCs that aren't related to any factions. Everything. The night goblins do seem to be one of the sort of the tough ones to obviously raise up there, and you can see here obviously our force of quite a large number of people. We're going to be sort of more careful with this one, and you know, hold them all in a nice line, try and keep them nice and formed up and everything. And so we are going to actually sort of see how this goes, and hopefully, you know, we should be able to take them down. It's very likely we are going to lose quite a few guys from these, as these guys, you know, like I've mentioned obviously before, they do just quite a lot of damage, and obviously a lot of our guys still are just sort of normal recruits, so that's not obviously the ideal situation for us to be in, but we will obviously deal with that. I mean, it does give us a chance to get some more, you know, experience for our guys, and so hopefully, who knows, we might actually be able to, you know, upgrade some guys from this at least. There we go, there is one night goblin down for us. Managed to take him with a nice shot straight to the face, and so always a good one when you're able to actually do that. And so here you can see the main sort of body of their force is now starting to actually come into contact with our guys, and so hopefully, you know, we will, you know, prove the better one, being over 2-1 against them, although Michael is still with these guys after some of the events obviously that has happened in the past with the amount of damage that night goblins have actually done to him. He is not willing to, you know, risk getting too close to them or anything like that. He has remembered how much damage they have done in the past when he's been left trying to fight off an army by himself, obviously when he did lose a load of forces to them. And so we are going to just, you know, take the time to try and make sure. Unfortunately, I think it's the case that militia guy is probably not going to... Yet there he goes. He did not really stand much of a chance, unfortunately. But there we go, we do manage to get revenge, take down the night goblin who killed him at least. So even though he has just been killed there, at least his death was avenged, which is, I suppose, sort of a good thing. I mean, probably not for him or his likely widow now, but, you know, can't have everything, I suppose. And so there we go, managed to drive these guys off, have managed to save actually quite a large chunk of our army. So, you know, we're in a pretty, you know, reasonable place. Not in an amazing place, obviously, but, you know, could be a lot worse. So we only lost 11 guys, so yeah, not too bad there at all. And so, luckily going back to Dorog, obviously our village that we actually own, we're able to replace some of the men that we lost with new recruits, and who knows, hopefully with any luck, we might actually be able to get in a pretty good place. Obviously, we'll just mention, obviously, if you do enjoy the series, please do be sure to subscribe and let me know what you think. So here though, we have actually just gone to go speak to one of the elector counts of the Empire. Reason being is this is actually the father of the woman that we are trying to woo, and so he is somebody who we do need to like us, as obviously it might be obviously a case that if he does like us, then he'll obviously accept the marriage and everything like that. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. He does, so we're going to go and talk to Lady Law and obviously see whether it's a case that she thinks that the father might actually be willing to agree to our marriage, which I do believe, unfortunately, that he isn't actually going to be, he wouldn't be happy, Count Boris wouldn't be happy to let us marry her just yet, but we'll deal with that obviously and try and improve our relationships with him as and when we can. And so just to sort of round up today, we're going to do sort of a melee fight. Just do enjoy doing these. It's a good way of sort of testing myself to see sort of how good I'm actually doing compared to sort of, obviously it starts off with just regular fighters and then goes all the way up to champion fighters, steadily obviously increasing the difficulty over the 40 opponents. So the first one's obviously, you know, even with this sort of great sword and everything, obviously that Michael is able to sort of take them down with some relative ease. However, obviously it will get a case they will quickly get more difficult, but at the very least it is always a nice way to track sort of to see exactly how many guys it is that he is able to beat and how far he is able to get with this one. Obviously there is the points where there are multiple guys in, obviously it does get more difficult. Thankfully though, as you kill that first wave, I do tend to find these fights get reasonably easy, as they've basically turned down to one-on-one fights if you do manage to actually kill the the enemies easily enough, which obviously as just regular fighters is something that definitely can do. And so here, just going to make the choice to actually pick up some other items, just reason being obviously that we are more focused on one-handed weapons, and so, you know, we are actually going to be sort of better off using them, and obviously a shield is always a useful thing to have. So here we're on, you know, 9 opponents Michael has actually managed to take down, given he has no armor and things like that. He is doing reasonably well, obviously he has taken a few hits himself, so his health is steadily going down, but, you know, he could be in a lot worse place, so does think that there is a good chance that we are actually going to be able to hopefully at least get, you know, sort of 20 or so of these guys is what I would obviously be happy with. And so, everything going on here, we just, you know, as we're still one-on-one, and obviously when they aren't actually using a shield, we're going to actually use the two-handed weapon ourselves, just to improve our proficiency with it. Obviously things like proficiency, they do increase things like your attack speed ever so slightly and things like that, so it is always a good thing to do. As you can see there, we only have sort of a 75 proficiency with this. They can go up into the hundreds, so, you know, something that we will definitely need to look at improving as we are able to. Obviously we don't really have very many ranks in the weapon master skill, so obviously it will get quite difficult for us to start raising these abilities up obviously as we do go, but for the minute we can certainly get some improvements at least, so that could be a lot worse. So here, as you can see, we are now up to fighting veteran fighters in this sort of match, so we're not doing too bad, and obviously managed to take down a good sort of 60 men. We are around about at the halfway mark to actually getting the number of men that you can obviously get when obviously Michael does lose his shield, so that's something probably could do with, you know, picking up another shield at some point just to increase obviously our defenses and possibly survivability. But for the minute we're just going to focus on actually, you know, taking these guys down. Got to remember obviously with that archer guy in the background, I might just sort of think, right, okay, if I can just try to keep moving, and that hopefully should minimize the amount of things that he can do, and obviously hopefully shouldn't be able to hit me with any luck, and although how well that goes we shall obviously have to see. And so here we are now obviously up to champion fighters as well, so the difficulty is steadily getting up. We've obviously managed to take over the 20 guys that I was hoping to take down, so let's now to try and see if we can get into the last obviously 10 opponents if we are able to. Obviously not 100% sure how that will go, but we will sort of see how, and you never know. So obviously we're down to now 11 opponents left, so we are in a really good place here. Obviously I think it is the case we are probably, though our health is getting incredibly low, I think Michael knows he's probably pretty much out of this fight, but, you know, can try and see. And so we are, there we go, down to 8 opponents left, 7, and so we are actually within the last 10, so I think it's safe to say we've sort of hit our targets for what we were hoping to with this one, and then some, so that is pretty good at least, when unfortunately we are knocked unconscious with only 5 remaining. So didn't manage to get all the way, but we were pretty close. So going to leave it there for today, so thank you very much for watching, and please do be sure to subscribe if you did enjoy it, and I shall see you next time here at EGN.